I'd like to thank every single one of you for coming out here this morning, despite the rain, but we all know that Terry ran in all kinds of weather. So thank you all for coming out to join us this morning.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Greg Harper. I'm with Breakfast Television. It's an honor to be here. This is a very special event. I mean, we all know about the Marathon of Hope, but not a lot of people know what went into that and the training that Terry did. And I think it's pretty cool that everyone will now know the route that Terry ran in preparing for the Marathon of Hope.
You know, we're all quite close to Terry Fox. We all know the history. I know myself, I've tended to take the legacy and the impact a little bit for granted because we all heard the story. We grew up in the area. But just to give it a little perspective, a couple weeks ago in Cuba, 2 million people participated in the Terry Fox run. 2 million people in Cuba. Phenomenal. And a month or so ago, Fred and Daryl attended the Terry Fox run in Abu Dhabi, and there was 20,000 people there. And cancer treatments have been found because of Terry's legacy. There's not a cure yet, but treatments have been found. So it's really important what the Terry Fox Foundation continues to do. And it all started here in this neighborhood. So it's pretty amazing that we can now permanently mark Terry's training route through the Tri-Cities. And so many people can come here and walk and run in Terry's footsteps.
Pretty special week in the legacy of Terry Fox. The largest museum in Canada is called the Canadian Museum of History. It's just a stone's throw from Parliament's Hill. And it's being renovated for Canada's 150th birthday in 2017. And the first exhibit that they've put together is of Terry Fox. And it opened this week. It's a 9-month exhibit and has all of the great pieces of Terry's legacy, and it's on display for all Canadians to see. And it's quite impressive to have such broad Canadian support. I can tell you, when it opened that night, it was a beautiful moment. This little boy who couldn't have been 6 years old was standing next to a glass case, and it had one of Terry's legs in it, and his father was there explaining Terry's legacy and his story and everything that Terry was, and it was a really beautiful moment. It was so fantastic to have all of Terry's family there in Ottawa to celebrate and to launch this exhibit so all Canadians can understand how special Terry is to us locally, to us as British Columbians, and indeed to all Canadians, because he really is one of the greatest Canadians of all time.
We went to school with Terry Fox. He was in our class. And I don't think any of us at that time when we were 13, 14 really realized what a remarkable individual he was going to become. Because at those days, he was just one of us. He was a Poco kid. And he went on to do something truly, truly remarkable. And that remarkable run across our country that united our country in a way I don't think anybody could have predicted. And 35 years later, that dream continues. And we see it in runs around the world, and knowing that one day that dream of curing cancer is going to come true. And it started right here in this neighborhood, in our town of Port Coquitlam. And I think that that's something all of us can be incredibly proud of.
It was my pleasure in the legislature, every member in the legislature, and both my colleagues here spoke eloquently to make Terry Fox Day, the second Sunday after Labor Day, forever, and we were very pleased to do that. I had the opportunity to read Terry's story. Raleigh had given me a book back in the fall, and in that book, I really did come to understand that while Terry was young, he was actually wise beyond his years, and he was truly a remarkable individual. He ran 5,000 kilometers. I had the pleasure of seeing him up at Simon Fraser University. It's hard to believe 35 years has gone by. And Terry used to run around the academic quadrangle up at Simon Fraser University, and you used to hear the click of his prosthesis as he was training for his Marathon of Hope. So I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for coming out today, and to thank the volunteers, and especially Mark Petty, who put all this together to celebrate Terry and all the preparation he did to realize his dream of finding a cure for cancer.
The bill that was going through the House, to basically proclaim Terry Fox Day in perpetuity, and it's one of the things, people, Terry brings people together, and it was, all three of us and everyone on all sides of the House came together really to support that great bill and moving that forward. And it really talks to, what Terry has really brought to all of Canada. It's such a great thing. It brings us all together. It brings the community together, and it really is a special thing. So it's wonderful to see everyone today, and thanks to all the volunteers and everyone else.
We have the mayors here from Port Coquitlam, Port Moody, and Coquitlam, Greg Moore, Richard Stewart, and Mike Clay.
When Mark Petty and Donna and the Foxes came down, here's how they had a meeting, and they asked the three of us to come together and said, hey, we think we want to do this, would you guys be supportive? And absolutely, right from the beginning, it was such a great vision to be able to do this and mark this training route. And part of what was really inspirational about today was probably 35 years ago, was probably the last day that Terry trained this route before starting the Marathon of Hope. Terry would do this once, twice, maybe even 3 times a day. And one of the things that Daryl was sharing with us was in his journal, there was never a time. It wasn't about how fast he did it, it was about how many miles he put in, right? Because he knew that he had to build the mileage up to be able to do what he wanted to do. And I think if you think through that and what we go through in today's life, where everything's marked by time, right? I got to get there, my phone's telling me to get somewhere. Where this wasn't. This was marked by a dream and a vision. And here we are still following in Terry's footsteps to complete that dream and that vision. So I really want to thank Mark and Donna and all of your team and the Fox family for, again, continuing this legacy, this journey that we as a family are in together. And we as a family will continue that dream until we complete Terry's dream. So thank you for coming out today.
I remember back in 1979, early 1979, Terry phoned me up and told me about this dream of running across Canada for cancer research. And because I was a runner, he wanted to get my advice. Well, what do I know about running on one leg, and what did anybody in those days know about running on one leg? And of course, we didn't have the internet then, so there's nothing really to look up. We were 2 naive young guys. So Terry, I came over here, and I lived on the other side of Port Coquitlam, and I looked at what Terry had figured out, how to jump on the one good leg and swing the primitive artificial leg through. And I thought, gee, that doesn't look too easy. At that time, he figured out how to run about a quarter of a mile, and the only advice I could give him was, as a runner, is you start slow at about 100 meters a day and let your body adapt and slowly work up. And I said, well, if you do that 100 meters extra every day for a year, you'll be up to 36 kilometers in a year. And I left him with that thought, and I knew Terry, because I'd grown up with him, that he would do it. He was such a humble guy. When anybody tried to make a hero out of him, he would say, I am just one member of the Marathon of Hope. All you people being here today are equal with him. as being members of the Marathon of Hope, so thank you for coming. We got this thing on our shirt. It says, "This is the best 10 miles in the whole world. It's my 10 miles." I ran it with him just over 35 years ago, and I said, "I'll never do this route again." And I did it again today, and I thought, I don't know how he thought this was the best 10 miles in the whole world. You know, the sidewalk going up Lincoln here is exactly the same. Of course, a lot of the road has changed, but when you get out Tyoko Road, I think the sidewalk there is a lot of the same. And you can't go on the road, you got to go down all the little humps between the driveways, which is doubly difficult with an artificial leg. He had an amazing ability to convince himself that he could do something, and I figure he ran this 10-mile route over 200 times in training. And mentally, to do that, he had to convince himself it was a good route. You know, so when I look at it now, it's absolutely incredible what he did. And if he came and told me today what he was going to do, I'd say that's impossible. But at the time, we were so naive and young, you don't really have any mental limits. He actually ran over 10,000 kilometers in total. And in the 8 months from January 1st, 1980 to when the run ended on September 1st, he ran over 8,000 kilometers in 8 months. And when I mean ran, he would refuse to walk. If, in his view, he had to run, hop all the way on that one leg. He considered walking cheating for him because he wanted to prove he was an athlete. I checked the internet 3 years ago to see the progression of world records for amputees, that it showed the world record in 1980. And I just about fell out of my chair when I saw it. He broke the world record by over 100 minutes every day for 143 days at the marathon distance. We just assume there's lots of one-legged marathon runners in the world. And I just wanted to read a few things that Terry wrote either in his biography or said. Here's what he said it was like for him to run. "I had some blisters. It was like running on hot coals. I had some sores that just rubbed raw and would bleed, and the blood would run down my knee and leg. I had bone bruises. My toes and heel were totally blistered raw. I lost 3 toenails. I had shin splints for 2 months. There were times it really hurt, but I kept going. I broke the run down. Get to the next sign, get around the next bend, get that mile down. I told myself I would keep going. If I died, I would die happy doing what I wanted to do. I cried. I knew I may die, but my spirit didn't die." Thank you.
We grew up not maybe a kilometer down the road here, and lots of emotion here. This is where it all started for Terry. We moved from Winnipeg, and that was great for our family. And I often wonder if Terry and our mom and dad hadn't moved us to Port Coquitlam, whether we'd even be here today. Because the neighborhood, the schools that we went to, the teachers that Terry had, the teachers that supported Terry and inspired Terry and encouraged him came from this area. And you'll see a lot of the people around here today that Terry went to school with. And it was an amazing time for us. After he was diagnosed with cancer and he got better and he was training and up at SFU, and then he decided to run, I wasn't living at home anymore, and I didn't get to see those training miles. And he did, like Doug said, he ran over 5,000 kilometers in training just before, just to get ready for the Marathon of Hope. I first of all want to thank a few people. Mark Petty for taking this on. It was before Christmas, maybe back in November, that Daryl and I sat with Mark in the Waves coffee shop on Shaughnessy and talked about a whole bunch of different things, and Mark picked that up, and then you know, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Mark taking it on, and Paul, and the BC office, the foundation office, and the three Amigo mayors, you know, Greg and Mike and Richard, for you guys for allowing this to happen in your community. Terry ran 3,339 miles. Our house number on Morrill Street is 3,337. So enjoy your day. Thank you so much for being here on behalf of our family, and Doug, you're fantastic. So thank you.